News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you until the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us. Folks, with us, a good group of people. I should say even great. Cora Henderson, who is one of the head people over at Pitt & Frank LLC. They can do a great job, and they do a great job getting your loan closed. You can reach Cora and the folks over at Pitt & Frank LLC at 895-9900. Also here, Brad Lawler, who's owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. I should tell you that Home Team also not only services Louisville, but also Frankfort and Lexington as well. And you can reach Brad and the folks over at Home Team and also Team Bug Out, 844-411-TEAM. And I'm Bob Sokoler. I am the owner of the Sokoler team over at RE/MAX Properties East. And we do a decent job of getting your home sold. And if you're looking to buy a home, we can help you with our agents. We'll help you as well. If you're thinking about selling now, next year, or the years beyond, I can give you a free, no obligation visit to talk about what it is that you need to do to get ready to sell. Maybe it's nothing. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, this first question is going out to the entire team here, and it deals with Alexander. So, Brad, Cora, Alexander says he plans on buying a new home in 2024 as interest rates appear to be coming down, and they do appear to be coming down. He's wondering, what are the first-time home buyer mistakes to avoid when buying a home? Interesting thought. First-time home buyer mistakes from inspections and then from attorney as well. Brad, let's start it with you.
Well, don't waive the inspection. Don't waive the inspection. Just, even if you are not going to get any repairs covered, at least know what you're getting into. Don't jeopardize your financial future by taking out someone else's problems. That being said, when you're choosing the inspector, make sure that you look at their sample reports, check their reviews, get referrals from people who you know, like, and trust before you make that final decision, because that will make sure that you are provided with a report that actually makes sense to you. And I think the other thing is just read the entirety of the report. There's a lot of information that's contained within. I know sometimes it can feel like overload, but all home inspectors should be partnering up with the buyer, first-time home buyer in particular, and guiding them through that process through a well-crafted and well-documented inspection. Home Team works well with all of the agents who come alongside those first-time home buyers, walking you through. You need a home inspector who is professional, non-alarmist, doesn't try to create big scary stories about things, because we believe that everything can be fixed.
I get that. Okay. It can be for the most part. Right. Cora, from your standpoint, from a legal side, what would you advise Alexander on this?
Absolutely. Well, for a first-time home buyer and any home buyer, you want to make sure that you're getting good title to the property. So what does that mean? I think you need to choose a closing attorney very carefully, one that has an outstanding reputation, professionalism, legal diligence, and a trusted resource. So I would look at how many years they've been in the business. If it's a relatively new company, I would be, concerned, is this just a pop-up company? Is this something where if I have trouble 2, 3, 4 years from now and I go back to call them, are they going to still be in business? Also, just understanding and appreciating and asking the right questions, such as, has the title been cleared? Am I getting this free and clear? Am I getting a general warranty deed, which is the standard in our industry? But, if you don't have the right professionals and you do a different deed called a quitclaim deed, suddenly you're taking it subject to. Also, making sure that you get your owner's title insurance policy, which is separate and distinct from a lender. A lender will always have their own lender's title insurance policy to ensure the loan that they are taking out for you. But the owner needs to protect what is probably going to be the largest investment that they will ever make in their life, and that is their home. And they do that. They protect their legal interest and investment in that property by getting an owner's title insurance premium, so that in the future, should something happen, someone threaten their legal interest in the property, whether it be by, post-closing fraud, which we've talked about, which is certainly on the rise, or if it's an issue from the past, maybe that title wasn't clear. Maybe a company did go out of business or didn't do a good job. And maybe the public records, maybe there was a forgery or other type of fraud back in the chain of title. They're going to be protected by that title insurance premium that is a one-time cost. Also being sure that the person that sits with you, yes, they're going to say sign here probably more than once or a dozen times, maybe even 100, depending on the type of loan that you're getting, but making sure you're getting an important short summary of those documents, especially relative to your loan product, such as when am I making my first payment? Are there any prepayment penalties on my loan? All those are going to be very important questions to make sure that exactly what you bargained for, exactly what you anticipate is in fact what you're walking away with after the closing.
Yep. Good answers from both of you. And I also would add, from a realtor standpoint, is to start looking for your home well before you're ready to buy. You want to find an agent that you trust, a team preferably, which will give you the advantage of being able to get into a new listing quickly, and then start seeing what's coming on the market so you can start determining whether this fits you or not and what prices are in the given area. So those are probably the best tips I think we could all give you to start your journey early, but know that it will be exciting and spectacular. Once you're in it, you'll think, why didn't I do this years ago? So we thank you. We wish you the best, Alexander, on this. Moving on, this goes to our home team inspector, Brad Lawler. Richard writes into Bob at WeSellLouisville.com, which you all can do. I'm on a tight budget this winter. How dangerous is it to run a space heater in my home instead of running the heat throughout the entire house? Brad, what are your concerns on that?
Well, depending on the type of space heater, electric space heater is, going to crank that electric bill up quite a bit. But I mean, I think they can safely be used in, single rooms. I would feel better about an electric heater, particularly the oil-filled ones, than I would about anything that burns kerosene or any other type of fuel, because those have to be ventilated. They can't be used in a room. Anytime you're bringing something like that and you're running a risk of carbon monoxide poisoning, and it's not worth it trying to save a few dollars on an energy bill, which we all understand. But electric, you're probably safer than you are with a fuel burning one. But one thing I would say, any heaters you're going to use, make sure that you move them away from all combustibles. Don't keep them close to a bed. Your sheets, your blankets can catch on fire. Don't put them near drapes. Don't have them anywhere that a child can tip them over or an animal can tip them over. You got to be very careful with those space heaters.
Infrared heaters go under the category of electric heaters because they plug in inside it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are infrared that are also gas burning, fuel burning. But yeah, there are a lot of the ones that look like little funnels, cones. Those are going to be electric infrared.
A reminder, you can see a replay of this show by going to LouisvilleAnswers.com. LouisvilleAnswers.com. That will take you to our YouTube channel where you'll not only hear but see us doing the show as we recorded it for air. And a reminder, if you'd like to find out what sellers are saying about us, a couple of things, our Sokoler team, you can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. We have videos waiting for you there, or read our reviews at LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. We go back over to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank LLC. Sydney sent us an email with a question that everyone needs to think about. So, Cora, Sydney's mom wants to make sure that Sydney gets the home that her mom owns when she passes away. And she and her mom are wondering, should mom put the home in Sydney's name now or wait and then leave it to her in the will? Her mom apparently is worried about the tax consequence of putting Sydney's name on the home right now. Any thoughts on that from a legal perspective?
Absolutely. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Yeah. So stay with me here. I think that it is certainly fact derivative, and we would love to have a consultation with them to understand what option best suits their needs. But things that we should be thinking about whenever we make those considerations, such as quitclaim deeds, certainly there's going to be a tax implication to that. So, having those conversations with your tax specialist is very important. Secondly, from an estate planning standpoint, typically we like to see that reserved in the will. We like to see that reserved in estate planning tools, but maybe a trust is a better vehicle based on that fact pattern than per se, just a will. Maybe the asset should be titled in the trust. For instance, if there are concerns about Medicaid and having her mother, with a home and the look back period and so on and so forth, if we're worried about the government coming in and subjecting and pulling in that home, that asset to pay off the debt for the care that she had been receiving after her death, that could be a problem. They could see that as a gift, even if it is titled in Sydney's name. So there are certain tools that we can use as attorneys and certainly elder law practitioners who are able to preserve those assets as best as possible from those types of scenarios. For instance, one popular vehicle would be a irrevocable trust in that scenario. Yes, you can't add Sydney to title. If you do, you would want to use certain language such as joint tenants with rights of survivorship, meaning that then makes that asset become subject to titling and it is a non-probatable asset. So it actually wouldn't be drug into their estate. It would pass outside of probate because we titled it on the deed that way. But again, it has tax implications. So there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages that may be more important to some than others that really precipitates a need for a consultation, a well-designed, thought-out plan for our consumers so we can make sure that we accomplish the best goal in mind for them and something that's going to leave all parties better off for, and not something where, they're looking back going, gosh, I wish I had not jumped the gun, had not have placed her on deed and titled it wrong.
Cora, back up for a second. You mentioned
Please.
something about the government going back to see if to pay off healthcare, nursing home, assisted living. How far back because I'm thinking there are a lot of people listening right now. So did they make a mistake? How far back does the government go when they're searching?
So my understanding is that there's a 5-year look back period there, but a lot of our elder law specialists here in town, we can certainly give you some referrals. They'll do free 30-minute consultations for clients. And so I think that's very important, especially as we're headed into the holidays with our loved ones. And maybe we notice that mom or dad or cousin, doesn't seem to be in quite the same health. We should be cognizant of that and having those opportunities, especially those free consultations, to say, what does that look like if we started to plan ahead? Because waiting until maybe the memory has deteriorated or their health has deteriorated could impair not only the possibility of preserving all the assets, but also an opportunity, an easy opportunity to capture their signatures with their capacity to sign those legal documents. And that goes along with whether you're doing estate planning, formulating a trust, making deed changes, or a power of attorney. So that's very important that you're having those conversations before things start to go south, before, someone gets in bad health and is maybe hospitalized. And I know that's a morbid conversation and you don't want to go home for Christmas going, hey, mom, I'd really love to get you into that elder law specialist. But I know a number of people that we work with, they treat those consumers just beautifully. I mean, just having those delicate conversations, those sensitive conversations, they do it in a manner that really is disarming and in their best interest. And it's not in a predatory or vicious way. So just with anything else, selecting the right person to work with matters.
Got it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, 10 telltale signs of mice you should never ignore. And a reminder, if you'd like to see what people are saying about us, because we don't want you to ignore our reviews, you can check out LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com to find the reviews for the Sokoler team. Our continuing in a moment with Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. You can reach the folks over at Pitt and Frank at 895-9900. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. You can reach Brad and his group at 844-411-TEAM. If you're thinking of selling now or in the future, you can call me for a free, no obligation assessment to give you a path as to where you need to go to get your home sold in the future. You can reach me at 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com and just fill out the form and hit submit, and I will get it and call you back. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you till the top of the hour. Continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They're ranked the #1 Home Team Inspection Service now 8 years in a row. and that's a pretty good feat. You can reach Brad and for not only home team, but also team bug out for getting rid of pests. 844-411-TEAM. And Cora Henderson continues with us, Pitt and Frank LLC. They do a great job of getting your home closed, as well as a lot of other legal items that need to be done. You can reach Cora and her folks at 895-9900. And I'm Bob Sokoler. If you're thinking about selling your home, I would love to be able to help you. And even if you're buying, we have agents who can help you as well. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, area code 502-376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. Fill out the information, hit submit, and it will come right to me, and I'll call you. All right, so we're all getting in the midst of being inside a lot more with the weather the way it is. And certainly there are potential signs. You might hear noises. So, Brad, I'm asking you to join in. Tony wrote us this email. He says, recently I've been finding small black pellets in the basement. He hears scratching noises when he goes down there. You've also noticed his pantry has a sharp, musky odor, and he's starting to be suspicious. Rightly so, correct? We're looking at mice?
Oh, yes. Probably mice. Probably so. 'Tis the season.
So the droppings are a sign, obviously, the scratching. In the walls, ceilings, underfloors. Where else might you find them?
Yeah, they hang out in your pantry. They hang out anywhere that's close to any water source. So if you've got a leaking sink, you're going to find them around that. You'll find them in your kitchen cabinets. Anywhere there is a food source, they are going to be looking for a way in. And one point, a mouse only needs a 1/4-inch hole to get in. You think about a mouse anatomy, their heads are half the height of the width of their head. So they look for those getting underneath a door. You know, if you can put a nickel, they can get through a hole the size of a nickel. Okay. Wow. A rat only needs the size of a 1/4, about 1/2-inch hole to get in. So yeah, any of those areas where you've got small holes or gaps under doors, mice are looking for a way in because they want to be warm and toasty too.
If you've got a dog and the dog starts paying particular attention to a section of a wall, an indication they're hearing something?
Very much so. Or the mouse has gone through there. I've got a dog that is a pointer breed, and she tracks them through the house when they're here.
Oh, okay. And then if you find one deceased mouse in your home, chances are they're not alone.
Probably not. Yeah. If one made its way in, you probably have others. And once others come in, then they start families in the home. So yeah, if you're setting out traps and you catch one in a trap, you want to reset it because there's probably others that will be coming along.
And speaking of tracks, if you see tracks or runways where mice are going, you have some frequent activity, right?
Yeah, and they put down this kind of gross smear that they call sebum, which is kind of like an oil that they rub. You kind of see it along the wall because they run very close to walls. And when they do that repeatedly, they leave like a little greasy streak.
Interesting. All right. So those are some of the tips, telltale signs you should never ignore if you have a house or a condo or even apartment. That will hopefully keep you up to date on that. We go back over to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank LLC. Cora, this comes from Adam, sent us an email asking us an interesting question. He recently got married to Allison. He's living in her house. She is on the deed and the mortgage as well. He is not, at least on the mortgage. I suspect he's now on the deed because of in Louisville, we're dower courtesy in the state of Kentucky, right? So, or courtesy. He is wondering, they've had arguments lately, so not going so well. I hope he's changed his name for the sake of keeping this confidential within his own marriage. He's wondering, is there any way he can ensure that she does not sell the property out from underneath him without him knowing? Cora?
Great question. And I hope that they're able to, certainly find the assistance they need to stay in the marriage. Should that be, where they're headed? Sorry to hear about his issues there. But if she is the only one on the deed, she's the only one on title. Yes, you're correct in that at the state of Kentucky, by statute there, since they're married, he has a dower interest. So that means he has that 50% interest in the property. Now, he's not on the deed. You can look up the instrument, and so long as they didn't do a quitclaim deed or any other type of deed, putting it to record, adding his name as a title holder, you're not going to see it there. And as you had mentioned, the note and mortgage may have been in her name when she was an unmarried individual. However, by virtue of the marriage, now that dower interest exists. As a result of that dower interest, this is where I get into answering his question. She cannot effectively and legally refinance or sell the property without him signing those documents, not if she is the only one on title. It cannot happen. So he should rest assured knowing that that is would be certainly impossible, absent fraud or forgery, for that property to be sold without his consent and signature.
Got it. All right. A reminder that if you'd like to see the future of photography and video, go to Louisville3D.com, Louisville3D.com. All right, Brad Lawler over at Home Team. This goes to you. Jessica, first-time home buyer. She closed on her home back in October of this year. She's concerned about the winter weather and what she should do to prevent water emergencies like frozen pipes, things like that. So suggestions, and this goes out to everybody who's listening to us who has a house or a condo or an apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure you know where your water shutoff is. So in case you do have an emergency with a line breaking, you know how to shut the water off to the house. If you have outside spigots, look for the shutoff valve. There's likely one that you have somewhere. Shut those off at the source. Open up the outside valve just to make sure that you don't have any water sitting in them. If you have, say, a kitchen or a laundry room that is on an exterior wall, just know that the likelihood of those water lines freezing are higher than they are, say, an interior bathroom. So you've got to note where all of those exterior lines are. If you've got overhead piping in, say, an attic, I would definitely want to make sure that, when you go to bed at night, make sure you leave some water running, dripping at the sink. I know we, always argue about what size is appropriate. I say, about the size of pencil lead, just a stream of water. Water is flowing through those pipes is cheap. Repairs for frozen lines are expensive. So keep a little bit of water running in the overnight hours when other things are not being used. And I would also recommend that you open up cabinet doors if you do have those exterior walls. Just get a little bit, allow a little bit more heat to go in them. But that should help, keep the house pretty well protected even in extremely cold weather. But those outside spigots are the ones that we always see, as the challenge, because people just don't think about them. They freeze, and then you don't find out that they froze and broke until you have, sometimes even a spring thaw, on a house. Then you start getting water in a, finished basement. It's never a pretty sight.
A reminder, with throwing a lot of information at you, you can listen to this show and see it video-wise as well. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com, LouisvilleAnswers.com. It's a redirect to our YouTube channel. All right, so we've got this interesting, Cora, this is a theme going on here. Cora Henderson over in Frank. Morgan and his partner had a verbal agreement that if their relationship deteriorated, Morgan would refinance the house and buy his partner out. Morgan writes us in this email, and you can send me an email, folks, bob@wesaw.louisville.com. Morgan writes, the relationship fell apart. Morgan's trying to refinance, but he is being turned down by mortgage companies. And he's wondering if he is forced to live up to his verbal agreement of buying out his partner. Does he actually have to sell the house in order to buy his partner out? What are your thoughts on that, Cora?
Great question. Just to confirm, you said they had a verbal agreement?
Verbal agreement, right.
Oof. Okay. Rule number one, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. And I say that slightly loosely, but, certainly always be sure when you can memorialize something in writing, you are going to be best served under all circumstances to do so. Does that mean it's impossible that he would have a claim? No. Certainly there are attorneys that would love to listen to that and dive into those facts to see if that's a case that they could take on. But, if there was an opportunity to go back in time with Michael J. Fox there in the DeLorean, I would say that, executing what's called a cohabitation agreement is very common. So when we have unmarried couples or, friends or what have you, taking title together to a property for a purchase, we look to those types of agreements, written agreements, where it's going to spell out who pays for what, who's going to get paid back in the event the property is sold. And also, what if there is a dispute? One person wants to stay, the other person does not. And I think a lot of times, you had mentioned refinance, that's not unlike married couples right now who maybe have it in their marital settlement agreement. They have it in writing where one person is supposed to remove them from title. They're supposed to refinance and get their former spouse's name off the loan. But what we're running into is with the higher interest rates, that's nearly impossible. I mean, who wants to refinance, when they have a 2.5 right now to get an 8.5? And so instead, you see a lot of family law practitioners, and certainly in this scenario, I would say they would be a good candidate for a consult for him, but they would be drafting other types of written agreements, written contracts amongst the parties, so that they can still accomplish what they need to as far as an equity standpoint and a sales standpoint without having to go through the formal process of refinancing.
Got it. Very good. All right. And a reminder, you can hear and actually read our reviews. We're very big on our reviews. We're thrilled about them. LouisvilleZillow.com, LouisvilleGoogle.com for our Sokoler team reviews. All right. This was the final question, I think, for the show, Brad, to you. McKinsey sent us an email, says she has a friend who told her that she should start unplugging appliances when they're not used to save on electricity, as the electric bills are going up this winter. And this obviously is a question that a lot of our listeners are probably thinking about and wondering. And so is McKinsey wondering, does it really save power on money on power bills if you unplug your appliances? Brad?
Yes, it does. It's called a vampire draw or a phantom power draw. I can't quantify, how much that is, but every single charger that you leave, plugged into a wall, not charging is drawing some electricity. I don't know. Again, just depends on what those things are. But yeah, every appliance has a clock. Every appliance has some sort of memory built into it. They're drawing power. Yeah, and even though everything is turned off in your house, that wheel still spins on your electric meter. That's the phantom draw that you're looking at.
I did a little research for you on this.
Good.
And according to one estimate, numbers. Yeah. So to some people, they may say, no big deal. Others might say, oh, this is worth thinking about. Standby power can cost homeowners on average $100 a year. That's $100 a year. And it's coming from computers and laptops being left in a standby position, gaming consoles, light fixtures, cell phone chargers, those types of things. All of them can contribute to the $100 a year. Also set-top cable boxes. I'm not so sure I would unplug that, right? Microwave, right. Small kitchen appliances, space heaters, they all contribute to getting the phantom power problem, $100 a year. So,
well, that's just like if you're on a data plan with a cell phone, those apps are always running on the background unless you toggle that off in your general accessories there.
That's very true. Good point there, Cora Henderson.
It's the world we live in.
It is. We'll get used to it, right? We are out of time. You heard the beeper. That meant we are out of time. Our thanks to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank LLC. They do a great job getting your loan closed. But in addition, they do a variety of other things. Contact Pitt and Frank LLC at 895-9900. Also, our thanks to Brett Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They do a great job. Not only do they work for you for inspecting homes, but they also have Team Bug Out now, which is great, especially with, as we've talked about, mice and in past shows, rats and a variety of other varmints around our community homes. 844-411-TEAM is Brad's number. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, next year, whatever it might be, I'd love for you to call me. I'll come out. We'll talk free, no cost, no obligation. We just talk about what the path is, and I'd love to be able to help you. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 502-376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, hit submit, and I'll give you a call back. We are out of time. Have a great Sunday. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.